Now more than ever, innovative technologies are fueling change and sparking new ways of thinking. Collaboration between corporations and startups is key to staying at the forefront of these trends. However, finding the right startups can be expensive, time-consuming, and ineffective. But Plug and Play is here to help. As a corporate partner, you will gain access to a whole ecosystem of innovation. Discover startups that meet your tech interests. Stay updated on the latest trends and network with industry peers. We will help you during every stage of your innovation journey, no matter where you are and where you want to go. Get in touch today.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our event today, centered on building loyalty in insurance. We've got a really exciting agenda coming up, some great startups, as well as a fireside chat with Mark Lange from Arch Insurance and our very own Tyler Lange. So really looking forward to that. There will be a chance to listen to the startup presentations as well and ask questions. At the end, we will be sharing all the contact information of these startups so you can connect afterwards. And we'll also be sharing a QR code for our upcoming Winter Summit, which we hope you all can join as well. So with that, let's pass it over to Tyler and Mark for our fireside chat.
Awesome. Thank you, David. Hi, everyone. So thanks for being with us today. I'm Tyler Lange, our Corporate Partnerships Manager for our InsurTech practice at Plug and Play, going on 4 years now. So looking forward to a great conversation today as we unpack the topic of loyalty and insurance and later hear from some really great startups in the space. Excited to be joined today by Mark Lange of Arch Insurance Group. So you may have noticed that we do in fact share a last name. Mark is my dad. Apple didn't fall far from the tree with the vests today, but he's also the champion for the Arch and Plug and Play relationship. And that'll be the context for our chat today. So welcome, Mark. Maybe we could just get started with a quick introduction of yourself and of Arch Insurance Group before we dive into the topic today.
Sure. Thanks, Tyler. Fun to do this with you. Apple didn't fall far from the tree. Thank you for having me. But so a little bit about myself, Mark Lange. I lead strategy and distribution for Arch Insurance North America. I've been with Arch about 6 years and in this role for about 3 years. That encompasses a lot of things, including our strategy around InsurTech, around innovation. As Tyler mentioned, I am the champion for our relationship with Plug and Play. Distribution also falls under my area of responsibility. And so, kind of the connection of those two is going to be fun to talk about for the next 25 minutes or so. And Arch, I guess second part of that is about Arch. So Arch, we're a specialty insurance company. We do predominantly commercial specialty insurance. So we're about a group of about 15 different businesses within Arch that all do specialty things. They do ranging from large loss sensitive Fortune 1000 accounts to travel insurance and a lot of things in between. So for us, specialty is really, I think, two dimensions. Dimension one is specialty lines of business. So again, that could be travel insurance, it could be vehicle service contracts, it could be directors and officers insurance. And the other dimension of specialty we think about is kind of niche of the marketplace. So for example, we're a leading writer of volunteer fire departments. So that's another niche. And then another would be, kind of large loss sensitive Fortune 1000 accounts. So that's a little bit about Arch as a bit of a preview.
Great, awesome. Well, so we'll just dive into it then. So being a specialty commercial carrier, typically distributing through brokers and MGAs, that'll ultimately distance you a little bit from the end customer, the end insured. So as we think about building loyalty, how do you think about who your customer actually is between those brokers that are sort of interfacing with those end insureds and the end insureds themselves that you're covering?
Yeah, good question. And largely, again, we have 15 different businesses, and distribution is varied, as you said. Retail brokers, wholesale brokers, MGAs or program administrators. For us, largely, we view our customer as the broker, as the distribution partner. Some of our businesses, I would say, it would be that plus the insured. So, for example, we do a number of large loss-sensitive programs for large Fortune 1000 companies that I talked about earlier, or large contractors. In those firms, or in those situations, our customer is certainly the broker, but at the same time, we get fairly closely engaged with the client as well. Our interests are very well aligned because they are taking some of the risk themselves. We're handling claims on their behalf. We work with them on loss control. So there is an aspect of the ultimate insured that's part of it. And then in some cases, like travel insurance, there are some instances where we do interact directly with individual consumers. But again, that's a much smaller part of our book. So it differs by business unit within the organization. And so part of our challenge as we think about strategy across Arch, we have 15 different businesses. We distribute in a lot of different ways. We're in different market segments, different niches. So what's the thread that kind of ties together the whole organization? And that's a big part of what we've really thought about in how we succeed across the organization and across all these different businesses.
Yeah, that's really helpful. And maybe this is a good chance, and I think maybe this is what you're driving at is, what role do you think culture plays within Arch in driving this delightful customer experience? Not just with the end insureds, with all your stakeholders, and is that a common thread that you can sort of pull at to sort of ensure that experience across the org?
Yeah, excellent question. And so the short answer is yes. That is really the thread that we think spans across the organization. If you think about insurance, or probably almost any product or service, ultimately there's a solution or a product that is being delivered, and at the same time there is an experience that goes along with that. And so if you think about, those are the two ways that any company really interacts with its customers. Products in our world, in insurance, many of our products are admitted products. They're filed. Anybody can see what they are, and they can be duplicated in a fairly straightforward fashion. But what really can't be replicated is the experience that we deliver to anybody that we interact with. We think of customers. You asked about customers earlier. There's a lot of parts of our company that have internal customers. So they support people that deal with external customers. We largely think of our external customers as brokers or distribution partners. But as we talked about, that it gets a little broader than that. So ultimately, we think experience is the way that we can differentiate ourselves in the long run. Arch is 20 years old. We in fact, just a couple of days ago, celebrated our official 20th anniversary, which for an insurance company is pretty young. I worked at an insurance company that's over 200 years old. So, a little bit different dynamic. And, we still have, we have an entrepreneurial bent to us. We've retained that, which is great. And so we think that culture is something that's really important, that we can leverage and can lead us to delivering that experience. At the same time, we also know that while we're fortunate that we have a really strong culture, our leadership when the company was built 20 years ago really set a great foundation for what the culture would be and the type of people that would fit into it. At the same time, we're growing as a company. We have several thousand employees around the world. And so, culture has to be intentional. As we get bigger and more expansive as an organization, just, kind of counting on it happening the way it always happened, in not making it an intentional, kind of strategy for us, we don't think is the way forward. So we've really spent a lot of time and effort in, defining what does culture mean to us? What is our culture? What are our values? But also, how do we then behave? Like, what are the things we do to provide that exceptional experience? We've got a lot of voice of the customer feedback from our brokers about that. And we've really come up with an internal language that we use to describe the kind of behaviors that we want to exhibit on a day-to-day basis. And as we've rolled those behaviors out as we really focused on this language, it's given us something that we can talk about across the entire organization that's consistent. And at the same time, it gives us a way to describe ourselves when we're talking to people that want to, that we're talking about joining Arch. We use it as a way to describe anybody we're dealing with outside the company. And the more we use those words to describe ourselves, the more we're going to be consistent with those behaviors. And ultimately, it's all about delivering that exceptional experience. We rolled out a brand promise just about a month ago. We call Pursuing Better Together, which is really brings that whole idea of experience into a really short and tight and crisp saying. And it really points to the fact that our people are our brand ultimately, and it's up to us to deliver that differentiated experience. And so we're really excited about that, and it's been a big area of focus for us. And so getting back to loyalty, which I know is the general topic of what we're covering here. We think loyalty certainly comes from the products that we offer, and it comes from the prices that we charge for them, and the aspects of the product and the solutions we're offering. But at the same time, we do believe that a big part of loyalty over the long run, it comes from the way we treat people and the way that we make them feel and the way they feel when they work with anybody from Arch, and how that's consistent across any engagement they have with anybody from Arch. So it's a big area of focus for us, and we really think that it builds upon the culture that we have. It's a way we can utilize our culture in a real positive way.
Absolutely. That's really interesting to hear. And so, I think in general, when people hear insurance, maybe their first reaction isn't customer centric, great customer experience. There's sort of a bad rap in the insurance industry, right? Whereas I think technology consistently ranks, a little bit higher in, catering to customer needs,
Yeah.
and sort of retaining customers and keeping them on their platform. So what technologies are you thinking about to sort of enable and partner toward a better experience, a smoother experience for those customers, knowing that you sort of have laid a foundation of culture and people to sort of support the mission?
Sure. Well, I would say just, over the last few years, there's been I would say kind of an evolution in the insurtech space, just, talking more generally from, from it being, heavily disruptive, hey, agents are going to go away, to, more supportive and enabling of, better experience. And so we clearly believe that, technology for us is going to be an enabler to us being able to deliver a great experience to our brokers or ultimately to their customers, our insureds. And so we've really, focused our efforts, particularly in the insurtech space, in that regard. And so for example, one of the things that we've done over the last year is we've invested a lot in the API platform, and giving us the opportunity to transact much more efficiently with our brokers, giving them the opportunity to be efficient when they work with us. Faster turnaround time, faster decisions enables them to rather than spending time filling out forms or sending in applications, they could spend their time with their client. The one thing that I would say that is happening is in the marketplace is with the wealth of information that's available in the marketplace is insurance buyers are far more sophisticated and knowledgeable today than they were, over the last several years. And so it's forced brokers to up their game. And, so we're seeing more brokers that are specializing more and more in industries or other aspects, so they can be more, in touch with their clients. And, the more we can do to help them lessen the administrative burden on them of just the insurance business, and give them the opportunity to bring more value to their customers, their clients, the better. So our ability to introduce, API technology, for example, across a number of our businesses, enables them to transact with us more efficiently, and therefore provide, more thoughtful service and maybe more specialized service and expertise to their clients. So as we think about technology, we think about that. We also think about it from the standpoint of how do we make better decisions? How do we, so this may not necessarily show up exactly to a broker, but how do we make better, more informed and faster decisions? And using technology, using third-party data, using analytics, gives us the ability to do that, all again with the intention of giving them a better experience so they can give their clients a better experience. So we are in the space that we're in. We're of the mindset that distribution intermediaries are here, and that's not going to change anytime soon. And so as we think about technology, we really think about how we can facilitate a better experience for them.
That's excellent. And I'd encourage the audience to drop any questions you have into the chat or the Q&A box, and we'll have time to get to them toward the end. So just wanted to see, you mentioned sort of the evolution of insurtech, and I couldn't agree more. It's more about enablement now more than ever.
Yep.
So if we wanted to forecast 5 years, 7 years from now, sort of the next movement or sort of evolution of insurtech, how do you think sort of the distribution value chain or ultimately, I think the distribution value chain in insurance, how might it better evolve, or where are we sort of going with distribution? 5 years ago, there was this big push toward direct. What do we see in 5 years? Is it more of the same with great digital MGAs stepping in to sort of fill out these different niches? Where's your sense for the next 5 years with insurtech as it relates to the distribution value chain with the customer really at the center?
Yeah, it's a great question. And we could spend the rest of the day talking about it, but I know we have 10 minutes left, so we'll have to be quick. But I would say a couple of things to that. One is, I think, again, go back to the point of more specialization. And so I think rather than painting the picture of insurance as this just big giant monolithic thing, I think data technology is enabling carriers, brokers, it's insurtechs to think about the market in much more micro fashion. And so I remember 5 or so years ago, there were predictions that by today 20% of the small commercial market would be direct, and it's not, it's nowhere near that right now. So thinking about the marketplace in that very large, and that's $100 billion roughly market, thinking about it in that kind of general way, I think is probably, it's going to continue to migrate forward to be a series of smaller markets. I think you can look at an example right now, is the insurance, they talk about hard markets and soft markets, and a hard market is when rates are higher, it's a supply and demand thing. There's just less supply than soft markets. And over time that has gone from one big giant hard market or one big giant soft market to a number of smaller micro markets. So if you look at cyber today, cyber is one kind of level of the marketplace, and workers' comp is very different, and so even within those, there's sub markets, whether it's geography or class of business or other sub markets. And I think greater sophistication around data, greater sophistication around understanding the marketplace is enabling those types of things to happen. So as we look forward, I think the marketplace is going to continue to get to become more and more micro focused, and solutions are going to be provided from brokers, from startups, from carriers, whatever the case might be, that better caters to those smaller markets, which we're excited about. That's how we think about things. Again, we think about things in a lot of niches, and ultimately I think the marketplace is going to continue to evolve to be a series of a lot of niches, some bigger than others, some easier to access than others, but that's kind of how we're thinking about it. And again, we're building towards that, and we're really excited about where the marketplace is going. And I think how technology, how insurtechs can really help us get there. And I think that is part of what's forcing this is as you see really smart people jumping into our marketplace and identifying these unmet needs in very specific areas, it is forcing legacy companies to be thinking that way as well. It's creating more educated buyers. It's putting pressure on the existing players, and I think that's a great thing for our marketplace. And I think that'll continue. I think that'll continue even more. So what might make sense for a small business that does one thing might not make sense for a small business that does another thing. And I think that's where I think technology can really help us be more tailored.
Fantastic. That's great insight. We had a few questions come out across the chat here. I'd love to get to a few of them. So Sean asks, how are you thinking about the intersection of brand loyalty and multiple channels of distribution? Are embedded solutions a part of that discussion?
Oh, that's such a great question. Thank you, Sean. So the intersection. Say it again, Tyler. I'm so excited. I want to make sure I hit the whole question.
You're jazzed up.
I know. I can't help myself. And we'll continue talking about this at Thanksgiving dinner if we don't get through the whole thing. Yeah.
Something to look forward to. So yes. How are you thinking about the intersection of brand loyalty and multiple channels of distribution? Are embedded solutions a part of that discussion?
Yeah. And so I would say some of the multiple channel of distribution gets to what we talked about a minute ago, which is this idea of micro segments of the marketplace. So again, we participate in a lot of the marketplace, but we largely don't have competing distribution in the same kind of segment of the marketplace. So our ability to understand in a particular segment that we think is an appealing specialty segment of the marketplace, understand what's the best way for those products to get to the consumer. The consumer meaning, the ultimate buyer of the product. It enables us to, I think, be thoughtful about how we participate in that marketplace. And because we're specialty, because we're selling products that have a uniqueness to them usually, and the buyers usually need a level of expertise in their distribution partner, it enables us to really think about what's the most appropriate way to do that. So from a brand loyalty perspective, again, this is such a great question. I think we really focus in on finding the right distributor for our products, finding those that are in the right channel. So first it's the channel. Is it a program administrator? Is it a retail broker? Is it a wholesale broker? And then within that, there's going to be specialists as well. So we have certain products that are through the retail channel, but it's through a very narrow number of retailers because of the need for specialization. And so for us, the loyalty comes into understanding them at a deeper level, understanding what their capabilities are, understanding our capabilities, and then all that kind of connects into that experience, right? They're providing expertise to their clients, the insureds. We're providing expertise that the brokers need, and therefore we're able to kind of create a really strong experience for everybody in that whole chain. And ultimately, we think that's what builds the loyalty. And again, it's earned over time. We've been doing this for 20 years, and some of our business we've been doing longer than others, and some of it, we've built more of that loyalty than others because we haven't been doing it as long. But ultimately, we think that experience leads to the loyalty, and understanding the specialty niches we're in, understanding what we do and what we don't do is, I think, a big part of that.
That's awesome. And I think, thanks, Ken, for this next question. I think it piggybacks super well on what you were just saying. So, in your view, how integral to customer loyalty are personalized and maybe more importantly, connected customer experiences? Just being as, you're not doing personal lines policies, so it couldn't be ultimately so personalized, but, how do you sort of tailor your approach and sort of connect these customer experiences?
Yeah, that's another great question. Thanks, Ken. So again, in the specialty space that we play, we're providing a unique solution that a business or an organization needs in many cases to function. And so it's important to their ability to do whatever it is that they do. So it's in some cases, I think about car insurance. I have to have car insurance. I want to have car insurance. It's a thing that I have to do. It's a bit of a necessary evil. But directors and officers insurance, for example, for a business is really something you need to have and is important, and you want to make sure it's right. So ultimately, the reason I use the word solutions when I talk about the products that we offer, it's because they are solutions. We are helping solve a need that a business or a nonprofit or some other type of organization needs. And so ultimately, I think the ability for that organization to understand the connection that exists through them to their distribution partner, to whoever they're purchasing it from, the broker that they work with, ultimately through the carrier, is where that loyalty exists. And again, it feeds, I hate to keep using this word about experience, but ultimately, for us to help them understand that we've got their back, the fact that there's less uncertainty in their mind around risks that they have within their business, and their broker can help them through that, and then we can help the broker through that, is really what we're doing. And that's kind of why we like to use the phrase pursuing better together, because it's all about kind of these little things that we can kind of do to help along the way. So ultimately, I would say it is the question about how integral is customer loyalty and personalized and connected customer experiences. We believe it's really integral. They're very highly connected in our space.
The specialization to a few of the points I think you've made throughout the chat here. So just want to get to one final question. I know we're sort of on a shot clock here, about 90 seconds or so. But just curious, maybe some examples or just some strategy around some of the data initiatives that you guys are committed to at Arch, and how you could see that sort of feeding the flywheel of customer loyalty.
Sure. So I work closely with our chief analytics officer, who's brilliant and tremendous, and Tyler knows him, and he's no stranger to the plug and play organization and ecosystem, and we have I think we have really great capabilities in that space, and our work is really heavily driven from the business, in identifying what problems do we have, what solutions are we trying to create internally, and how can we use data to make them work. So from the standpoint of how do we better triage claims that come in the door, so we can make sure that we have the right person working on something that's going to be more likely to be higher severity, to put the most senior, the most person with the most expertise on those particular claims, to how do we accelerate the underwriting process for a particular line of business by building third-party data into our process, to how do we help a distribution partner better understand its business, because in a lot of cases, administrators in our space are really good at selling, are really good at managing relationships and processes, but may not, and have a lot of data, but may not exactly know what to do with it. So how can we help them manage their business better, which is ultimately going to help us? So there's a lot of examples, but they really, for us, come from identifying what a business need or a business problem is, and leveraging really brilliant people within the organization to solve those issues or address them.
Amazing. Well, that is the end of our 25-minute chat here. So I want to thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. It was great to have your expertise, and I'm sure you and I will circle back on this at Thanksgiving, as you mentioned.
Exactly. Yeah, looking forward to it.
All righty. Well, thanks so much, and I'll pass it back to David.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you, Tyler, for your insightful discussion. A couple major takeaways for me. That is, one, that there will be an emphasis on customer-centric products and distribution. And number two is that the Langes know insurance. So thanks a lot to both of you. And now we're going to move on to our startup presentation portion of today's event. But before we get into that, just a couple housekeeping items. Submit questions using the Q&A button. Also, you could use the chat feature for any comments or other questions. And please remain muted just so we can hear the startups while they're presenting. 4-minute pitches for each startup, followed by 2 minutes of Q&A. And there will be a poll question too if you'd like an introduction to those startups after. You'll be provided with their contact information. First up, we have VYMO. VYMO is an enterprise SaaS startup that uses automation and business intelligence to improve the outcomes of distributed sales teams. Please welcome VYMO.
Thanks, David. Appreciate that. And thank you for the insightful discussion as well. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yep, looks great.
Perfect. So, I just wanted to start with a quote from Insurance Innovators that was published recently. About 90% of customers say that a touch point must be delivered at the right time through the right channel to be effective and add value. And that statement has rippling effects across the sales value chain in terms of optimizing sales strategy, reducing customer churn, and driving revenue. So in order to achieve customer loyalty, as we're talking about today, we need to get smarter in how we communicate with clients and prospects. So think of VYMO as a digital personal sales assistant and sales acceleration platform that can help 3 levels of the sales hierarchy achieve productivity and consistency. So we want to help the relationship manager predict what to do next, the sales manager coach more effectively, and the sales leader make better strategic decisions. VYMO started in 2014, and since then we've grown to represent about 50 enterprises globally, focus almost entirely within financial services, and are used by about 150,000 salespeople. You may say, well, that's great, but why does VYMO exist? And the big thing for us is if you can't measure what someone is doing, then how do you improve it? And we really want to help sales teams do more, but really importantly, with less clicks and in a really simple and intuitive way. Because as we know with software, if it's too complicated, someone's going to use it once or twice and then give up on it and go back to their old ways, maybe even using pen and paper. So we do this by using existing historic data in an organization's systems, their core, a CRM if there is one. We then add all customer interaction data and apply artificial intelligence on that. And leveraging this data really helps salespeople become more effective and more efficient by helping them to understand what they should be doing in a given day. And as we look at the slide here, salespeople on the left are prompted with next best action nudges to prioritize customers, activities, schedules, and if they are in the field, even routes. Sales managers are alerted to how they can help their team as the platform recommends real-time coaching interventions like calling a rep before they head into a big meeting. And then sales leaders learn what the most productive people are doing and what skills are driving that. So we can identify a whole host of metrics, but the solution identifies outcomes like conversion rates, first meeting numbers, but really importantly, the behaviors behind those numbers as well. Really interesting quote published by Gartner a couple of years ago. The challenge with traditional CRMs is that they don't help you detect customer interaction data without the burdensome manual entry. So the end result we've seen is salespeople just simply shy away from using it. Even after 2 years of deployment, analysts are seeing adoption rates on average at less than 30%. And even if the adoption rate is higher, which it is in some businesses, it's still mainly being used as that system of record. And that's really why we built VYMO, to become that system of engagement. And on average, we have an 85% adoption rate, which is really remarkable, but that's because we're adding value. I wanted to give a quick overview of how we helped AXA convert new business through actionable nudges using our automation and business intelligence. AXA went from losing 92% of their new leads to converting over 30%, a 24% improvement compared to the 8% before. And we accomplished that in the first 6 weeks. And then over the next 10 months, we also doubled their sales activity count and reduced their onboarding time almost in half. I'll kind of close with this slide, but in summary, really think of VYMO as a salesperson 360 to help make that team more productive and more efficient. And the platform essentially does that by working from the bottom up instead of the top down like traditional CRM. So again, instead of being a tool for managers, VYMO really helps people on the front line improve their performance and learn. And in the moment as well, right? Which is really important. It's the best way to coach someone when something's happening rather than dealing with issues after the fact. It's the best way to change someone's behavior. So in the end, VYMO really helps you own your relationships, drive your business, and the success behind that business. If you'd like to explore, how we might help you achieve loyalty in insurance or help your business grow, look forward to connecting. Thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you, Steve. Everyone attending, please answer the poll. We do have a couple questions here that came in. The first one is, how do you know you're spending time with the right people? And how do you measure the effectiveness of those activities?
Yeah, great question. So we really addressed the who question through customer segmentation and prioritization, determining who the 20% of your customers are that provide 80% of your business, right? The Pareto rule. But for instance, one meeting with the top tier client could be equivalent to 5 meetings with a lower level client. Similarly, like churn, right? One high producing customer, losing one high producing customer could be equivalent to losing 5 or 6 lower level customers. And then once we have answered, who we should be spending our time with, we then can answer the what question. And we really do that by, identifying goal achieving activities that drive cross-sell, upsell, and even retention. And we assign point values and goals around those activities, right? So then we can then nudge and track those points automatically, as opposed to tracking them or try to understand them via these 300 column spreadsheets, which we found with some of our customers that were previously using in insurance and other organizations.
Gotcha. Well, thank you, Steve. And that about wraps up time for this presentation, but thanks so much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Blueboard. Blueboard is the world's leading experiential rewards company, focusing on rewarding employees with meaningful experiences. Please welcome Blueboard.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having us. So let's dive in. So I'm Alicia, and I'm our VP of Client Success here at Blueboard. And so in today's new hybrid world, HR leaders are prioritizing employee recognition, one of the top 2 initiatives behind employee well-being today. Historically, we've been focused on business metrics such as cost, revenue, cash flow to signal business performance. But let's be honest, the pandemic put that into new perspective, and we've had to adapt. It's no longer about the business metrics, but about the employees who are your most valuable asset. If you take care of your employees, they're going to take care of you and your company. And so at Blueboard, we strongly believe that that companies with people first culture will have the biggest impact, especially in today's hybrid world. The companies who invest in their employees' lives outside of work, the companies who see and value their team's hard work and achievements. And if you want to attract and retain the best talent in today's incredibly highly competitive world, especially in light of the Great Resignation that's happening right now, we feel like it's imperative that you find new ways to recognize employees that make them feel authentically rewarded for their contributions. And that's really our goal at Blueboard. We want to partner with people first companies to recognize their top employees in a more meaningful way. And so what do we mean when we say in a more meaningful way? We reward top employees with their choice of a memorable, personalized experience. And so I just want to show you a quick video that will show you how that comes to life for Emily.
This is Emily. She used to get rewarded by her company with gift cards, trophies. They even sent her a blender. But good news for Emily. Her company recently signed on with Blueboard, a better way to reward your employees. This is Emily now.
How many of you have ever had moments like Emily? I know I personally have.
This is Emily.
And this is what we're really saying when we mean something that's more meaningful. And so what we love about rewarding with experiences compared to cash or gift cards, it's really the memories that you create, right? The stories, the videos, the photos that you can share internally to connect employees, build program excitement, and really just help us feel human. At the end of the day, employees want to feel like they belong. They want to feel part of the bigger picture. And what an amazing way to bring your employees together than through bonding over shared experiences. We make sending experiential rewards really easy. You can send a reward to your employee's inbox in less than 30 seconds. They choose their favorite out of a ton of different options that we curate all over the world. And then they work with a celebrated concierge team member to plan all the logistics for them. We offer solutions for every celebration occasion that you could think of, from anniversary rewards to referral incentive programs, President's Club trips, to company value awards. And we're partnering with over 300 global clients, including peers in your space, such as Guidewire, USI, Brown & Brown, Marsh McLennan, to really revolutionize the recognition efforts. So what does Blue Board look like in practice? We're creating meaning beyond dollars. We're helping people cross things off their bucket list, like Juliano, who won a referral incentives contest and went skydiving for the first time in Dublin. Or Avery, who redeemed his Summit Award from USI Insurance for a staycation where he proposed to his girlfriend. This is literally what we do. We help to create lasting positive memories that will continually be associated with your company and your employer brand. It's not just about stories, it's about real business impact. For example, we partnered with TradeShift to offer Blue Board experiences instead of cash bonuses when employees referred new hires to the company. And we've been able to exceed their program goals and are now delivering over 40% of new hires through their employee referral. And so if recognition is a priority for you, I'd love to stay in touch. You can contact us at blueboard.com, or you can shoot me a note at alicia@blueboard.com. Thank you so much.
Thanks for your presentation. And please, everyone attending, feel free to fill out the poll. Definitely see the value in this for sure as an employee, and I could see it how it's valuable for all employers too. Reminds me of the news that just came out a couple of days ago. Sarah Blakely, CEO of Spanx, $10,000 and 2 first class tickets to all our employees. Pretty awesome. But one question came in from the audience. What type of programs are popular with your clients right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Something that we're seeing a lot of is company value programs. I think especially through the pandemic, the employee mentality changed. You know, people were leaving companies at alarming rates, right? We're all seeing that data. It's really hard to retain and find, top talent. And so company value programs allow you to really just highlight your values, which you've put a lot of effort into, how you want people to feel connected to your brand. And so when someone demonstrates those values, how great it is to send them a reward, really reinstilling that behavior. It helps to really create that sense of belonging. I think the other main program that we're really starting to see pick up is onboarding gifts. And so a lot of companies do anniversary programs, right, for your tenure, but what a great way to kind of acknowledge someone, to say like, thank you, you had a choice to join us. And when they start on their first day, they get an experience. It just, again, goes to highlight the investment that you're going to make in them because you know that they have a choice. So those are definitely the 2 most popular we're seeing right now. Yeah, it's pretty great.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. And next up, we have Marble. Marble rewards your customers for being actively engaged with their insurance. Please welcome Marble.
Thank you, host, whoever asked me to unmute. Hi, everybody. Can you see my screen? Matt, I can see you, so you can confirm. Awesome. Hi, everybody. With Marble, we're building the tools and the technologies that consumers and companies in insurance really want to use. Insurance customers are starting to realize that they receive not a huge benefit for interacting with their insurance. And more than that, we're seeing this industry trend where people are craving or sort of really wanting ongoing rewards or engagement programs that get them away from the sort of current transactional environment. And if insurance sort of tackled this gap or really this opportunity with the tactics that we learned that we're seeing in the fintech revolution, what would it look like? Well, at Marble, what we're building, we believe it would touch on control, engagement in the form of rewards, and just other nudges, shopping, a key part of any insurance ecosystem, risk reduction, and payments and finance. This has led us to build, which is live today, anyone can go check it out, marblepay.com, our consumer product. Asset first view for the first time ever of all insurance policies and insurable risk, an industry first rewards program that's driving a ton of engagement with our users today, and a social community driven platform where people can leave reviews, engage with quizzes, education, all things that we're testing and are in the wild with fantastic traction to date. And we've built this all with this sort of like modular core of APIs and microservices with a really modern structure. We have a behavioral API. You can see some API documentation here, which is part of a larger set of documentation that we can share after this or in a follow-up if anyone's interested. This nudges people with rewards and without rewards to take certain actions that could improve their risk profile or lower the cost of the book of business. That ties to a redemption and rewards API, which allows people to track and earn rewards and redeem those for gift cards, charity, a number of things that we'll also touch on later. And we have payments and financing on the road. So then with this core technology stack that we've built over the last year or so, we've also built Marble Enterprise. And this really already today powers high value programs for carriers and in the future brokers and really anyone who's in an insurance adjacent business. We have one-click access to a compliant, and compliance is really, I know part of our DNA is a little bit of a cliche, but it's really fundamental to what we do. It's been part of our calculation and how we look at this since we've been founded. And we embed our services directly either into your insurance environment and we sit our brand way back, or we can build a front end for you depending on how you want to deploy. And then really what it looks like in practice is this. This is a true production level environment. This is how it all comes together. You can see an onboarding screen to the actions that our partner wants to incentivize, to the way that they can redeem those rewards with a couple premium brands as well as a charitable donation. We have, at the end of this presentation, we have like 40 actions that have come up so far that we can incentivize, but we're always growing that list. You can see a few here, all around themes of improving the cost of the book of business or improving risk and ultimately driving increased retention. And finally, on this sort of, where we're going with the enterprise piece, we have this marketplace or this one-stop shop for all things engagement and retention that we're constantly adding new services into, kind of the services engagement and retention marketplace, specifically tailored with the feedback and the input of large insurance carriers and the thousands of customers that we have on our consumer product. It's big believers in virtuous cycles, and we built one here. Small case study just to touch on briefly. We were launching at the end of the year with a national insurance company, 1 million+ policies, auto P&C provider. They wanted a policy, they wanted a loyalty program. They wanted to develop it. They saw us, actually submitted their info through our website. They were losing 44% of their defectors who would have stayed if they had some sort of action or engagement like that, like a rewards program. We're rolling out in December with 6 actions, 6 coming after that, and then 6 in phase 3. And really the goal for this program, the stated objective and how we'll win more business is drive enrollment with the program, drive ongoing, consistent, delightful behavioral change, take those actions that may be negative or neutral moments and make them really delightful and differentiated for this brand with a rewards push, and then drive long-term engagement and retention, which can have a massive, massive, massive impact on this firm's profitability. We're excited to do that for them and with them. So how do you do it? Or how do you, as your team, do it? Or how do you talk about this internally? Well, the good news is, sincerely, we're quick to implement. We have low lift, low risk, low friction pilots. What we'd like to do with anyone who wants to get something going, identify 25 to 50,000 policyholders by some sort of cohort, state or zip or whatever. Choose 3 to 5, maybe 6 policy actions, the ones that have the least IT lift. So let's maybe stay away from billing, and then work with our team to implement the custom rewards. And I saw David came off there, so I'll stop.
I wanted to give time for this one question from the audience.
Yes, yeah.
Thanks a lot, Stuart. So the question is, what is the value of working with Marble to create an engagement and loyalty program versus building something in-house?
That's a great question. It's something that we hear a lot. And it's something that we've very confidently answered for a lot of people is that we move fast, our tech is built. We've done basically a year's worth of compliance work before we started even laying down code to understand the regulatory environment around rebate and inducement. And from there, we've just been able to move so quick with such contemporary technology that people can pilot with us in a matter of months, not build over 2 years.
Great, thank you. So everyone in attendance, please answer the poll question. We can connect you with Stuart and the team after this. Thanks, Stuart. And thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Zelros. Zelros helps insurance distributors improve the customer experience they deliver across channels, online and offline. Please welcome Zelros.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Lange with Zelros. I'm the CMO here at Zelros, based in the greater Seattle area. And again, thank you for having me on this amazing webcast to talk about trust and long-term customer loyalty. So according to McKinsey and Accenture, and I pulled some scary facts here with Halloween around the corner, $470 billion in premium costs are lost over customer loyalty, and it's quite a large number to be losing over loyalty, but also over customer experience. Now, only 15% are satisfied with their insurance digital experience, and as it was talked about earlier, that COVID and the pandemic only amplified that much greater. Now, only 22% of insurers have launched a personalization effort, real-time digital services. And again, I think that with COVID, things have just aggravated the situation. Things are accelerating, which leads me to my next slide that shows that 61% of insurers are still in early stages of digital transformation. When we talk to some of the largest insurance companies out there, especially at the C-level and the leadership level, top of mind is accelerating that digital transformation, not just adopting or starting. I think they've been on the road, but how do you accelerate that and stay relevant so that you're not the next Barnes and Nobles and the Blockbusters of our time. So Zelros helps bridge the gap across the customer experience and the services that you offer to your end customers. We do this by augmenting the customer intelligence to the agents, so the agents offline as well as online on your direct digital channels. Zelros, we take all the relevant data and we turn that into actionable intelligent insight to inform the sales and marketing actions and next best actions to better serve the customer in the end. Zelros has some of the largest customers here. We heard about AXA or AXA earlier, ING, Matmut, which I will mention in a little bit, and others. We also have strategic alliances with Microsoft, Capgemini, and Salesforce, and soon Guidewire, which will be announced tomorrow. How we do this, Zelros takes all the relevant data from various systems and platforms, including some of the legacy systems. CRMs is first and foremost. You may also have some policy underwriting claim systems as well that would feed into the Zelros platform. And then within the Zelros platform, we have a number of algorithms that will then help you crunch the data, anywhere from structured data as well as unstructured data, including voice, images, documents, and such. A quick example of what the UI looks like and what the product actually looks like. This is a screenshot of our Zelros product that would sit alongside your CRM. I'll start from the left to right, just to easy follow. On the left-hand side, you can see the various product lines. Maybe it's auto insurance, home insurance, health insurance. But what's the algorithm around that is to help the agents prioritize the chances or the likelihood of that individual buying a certain type of insurance. In this case, we're looking at auto insurance, leveraging our propensity scoring. The second is we provide then that tailored and personalized recommendation to the customer. So the agent would see this proactively and be able to offer the relevant solution to the end client. We also serve up the relevant questions to ask to confirm and validate that indeed this individual will be buying a second vehicle in the next 6 months. And then at the bottom here is their feedback loop into our system so that the machine learning and AI can continue to learn and refine and be more accurate over time as you continue to learn about the individual. On the top right, On the top right here, we have a voiced insight, which basically can help take in even more unstructured data, like documents, as I was saying earlier. And then you have customer life situation, which is basing on the history of that person's life events. And then finally, taking the next action of potentially making a quote. And then finally, the benefits of Zelros. One for sure is to help you stay relevant, adopting AI machine learning for the use cases of upsell, cross-sell. In some cases, we've seen upwards of 50% agent productivity with augmented intelligence and agility for better serving your clients. Adhering to responsible AI as companies adopt AI and start building out their responsible AI programs. That's another thing that would then lead to customer trust and loyalty. Hi, David. I see that you are now on the line.
Thanks, Lynn. Thanks for your presentation. Just want to make sure we get a chance to answer one question from the audience. How is Zelros different from other customer experience or customer intelligence tools?
Beautiful. Actually, that's a great segue from where I left off. I was just talking about the responsible AI piece, and that's definitely a differentiator for Zelros, is that not only are we offering an AI machine learning solution to serve the cross-sell, upsell, as well as client acquisition, but also adhering to these responsible ethical AI programs to be able to track and report on, for example, carbon emission, to removing any biases in D&I and such. Another differentiator is we provide definitely a deeper level of expertise in the insurance industry when we're compared with some more horizontal cross-industry AI solutions with the expertise in-house. And then finally, the third point would be for those companies who have a status quo more mentality. I think that Zelros can be 10 times faster in terms of go-to-market.
Great, thank you. Also, I just want to point your attention to the chat. There is one question. We don't have time to answer that right now, but maybe just take note of that, and then you both could reconnect offline after this.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. And thank you for the question.
Thank you. And that wraps up our startup presentations for today. I just want to invite you all to our upcoming Winter Summit. We only do 2 summits a year for our startups going through their accelerator program. This is the kind of the graduation of that program. So we're really excited to have some amazing startups here and for all of you to meet them and get to connect with them. So use the QR code on the screen to sign up for that, November 10th. And yeah, that's the agenda. So this about wraps up. Thank you to everyone who attended. Thank you to Mark Lange from Arch Insurance. Thank you to Tyler Lange from Plug and Play. Thank you to Steve from VYMO, Alicia from Blueboard, Stuart and Matt from Marble, and Lynn from Zelros. And thank you to Gina and all the team at Plug and Play behind the scenes putting on these events. Have a great one, everyone.